We breathe in good emotions, and we breathe out bad emotions. And we calm ourselves down and pour some rum. Not a lot of rum left in this jar, but I don't need a lot of rum. I'm going to let that drip just a little bit. Okay. So the universe doesn't want me to make this video. I'm trying to make a video about my experience with my hard drive filling up. There was a rum and cola in this. This is a cherry cola. And the lime is still in there, frozen to the bottom. Not all the ice is from that, so it should... it all came up. I think it all came up. Most of it came up. Yeah. Cherry lime soda. Anyway. For every 1,000 subscribers I get, I do purchase one of these bracelets from 4Ocean. 4Ocean pulls a pound of trash out of the ocean every time I do that. If you'd be so kind as to comment, like, and subscribe, you'd be taking the opportunity to do something great for the world. Now, I've made a number of videos about having to restart one of my computers from scratch. And the reason being, it has a 110 gigabyte SSD that was full. And as I used it, it gets less and less space until, got to the point where I couldn't even load 5 videos on it to render, because it's my primary rendering computer. Because it's like, okay, used up all the space. Ugh. So I went through this big nightmare of restarting the Windows. And this computer is what we refer to as a non-upgradable. It has a small hard drive compared to most modern computers, I guess. But I mean, for surfing the web, you don't need a lot of hard drive. You don't need that SSD space. I'm from the time of hard drives, by the way. I'm an old man now. My first computer had it had a half gigabyte hard drive. Now I have computers that are my backup drives are huge compared to this. I started popping everything that didn't have a larger SSD some time ago. I have old SSDs or old hard drives in this room, I think. But apparently, what happens is the software that I render these videos on appears to be doing some backing up. And because I am just pumping these videos out like there's no tomorrow, well, I'm filling up the hard drive or the SSD because it's too small. It's like, yeah. And I'll tell you something. It's not in here, but I have another computer where it's like I have to pull the thing apart in order to get a larger SSD in there. It's not like you can take the SSD out and put it back in. It's it's one of those, you got to pop the case open and you got to disconnect the battery. Whereas with the older laptops, you just one screw and it's ready to go. But the problem is that these computers are so old, they run off of the SATA. Flies in here. They run off the SATA system. I mean, we're looking at, in my lifetime, we started with IDE. I think it was IDE. And then we moved to SATA. And I remember I had a computer that had a SATA hard drive interface and an IDE optical drive interface. And now optical drives are pretty much obsolete. And everything's done through USB. Okay. So here it is. Apparently the SATA interface is being removed. And we have this new interface. And yes, there are adapters, particularly because the new system is just that much smaller. But the question becomes, because the SATAs haven't gone down in price. If it's like, okay, a SATA is, $50 for 2 terabytes, like, okay. As I'm filming this, that doesn't appear to be the case. And I mean, one of my big problems, one of the big things I've done in my life is that I keep trying to make my computers last. And they do. I mean, I think I've had the computer I'm working on for like 15 years. I have only had the computer that has the problem for about 4 years, but I bought it as a used unit that didn't even have a hard drive. But now it's the question, do I just keep removing Windows? Because, I mean, understand something. I have 2 basic options here. Option 1, keep using this computer until it fails. It's a Lenovo, it's probably not going to fail. Or, back up. I have the options of keeping the keeping the SATA the way it is and reinstalling Windows every time it fills up, or getting a new SSD and having that new SSD be so incredibly large that this system is unlikely to fill up. Okay? The second option costs money. The first option is just annoying. But then when you look into the second option, the reason the second option is complicated is because I have 2 options again. Buy a older style SSD that is large enough to deal with the problem, or buy a newer style SSD and an adapter. And my tech guy, who's retired now, has advised me that the adapter is just one more thing to go wrong. So if you can avoid it, don't use them. But these adapters are like $4. But the question always being, how long will this laptop continue to run? Because it is a Windows 10 non-upgradable. Being a Windows 10 non-upgradable, at a certain point, I have to stop connecting it to the internet. Or switch to Linux or something like that. Now, obviously, if I'm making piles and piles of money, doesn't matter what this laptop is doing, because I could just replace it, But I'm not making piles and piles of money. As I film this video, which is at the tail end of 2024, I believe I made $30 on YouTube in October. Okay? So, at the rate I'm going, it is unlikely that I will ever make the amount of money on YouTube to buy a new laptop. Alright? Eventually I will probably buy a new laptop regardless, But, there's just no way. There's just no way I'm going to fund that through YouTube. And this is the thing, is that, Windows 11 may not support the rendering programs I'm using. If I could, I would resurrect my old Windows XP computers, because that had a version of the software that only worked on XP, and I could use that in conjunction with this. So if I could use XP computers, I would. But I would have to connect them to the internet in order to download the program, and then once I downloaded the program, I would have to take them off the internet in order to prevent them from being screwed with. So this is... Why are there bugs in here? I've had that problem. So this is my problem. It's like, the money isn't really an issue. I mean, I have money, but I don't want to go burning it. And if I get the older SATA system, it might not have as much longevity, but if I buy the newer system, it may not work as well with the old components. And even then, if I went out there and got a new laptop, you pay out the nose for these large SSDs installed. And it's, generally better to install them yourself. I don't know. It's, on the one hand, I feel empowered because I found the problem. And the other hand, the problem is expensive to fix. I mean, in order to swap out the the SSDs completely, I would need to make a boot USB. Then, on making that boot USB, I would have to switch out the components, power up the system with the boot USB, and then hope that works. It may not. I mean, obviously, if it doesn't, I can just, remake those using the same parts, assuming I don't have bad parts. And then it's like, you keep having these older systems, and it's, what do you do with an old SATA that has 100 gigs on it when you can buy a flash drive for $10 that has more storage capacity? You swat at flies. What are these flies in here eating? I don't see where they're coming from. Don't see anything rotten. I don't smell any bad food. Nothing's not sealed in here. Maybe it's the soda. Anyway. So that's basically what's going on at this point. I'm faced with this dilemma. And I don't know. Sooner or later, I'll come up with an answer. Sooner or later. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. I'm Richard.
Danger Ducky says, this is your magic moment. A moment for you to do something that is good for the world. You can comment, like, and subscribe, because for every 1,000 subscribers this channel gets, they will buy one of these bracelets I am wearing. Each one of these bracelets I am wearing means that one pound of trash will be removed from the ocean. Cleaning the ocean is an expensive thing to do, and we need your help, so don't be trash. Comment, like, and subscribe, and get trash out of the ocean.